Hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we are live on a Friday lunchtime, which means it's time for us to talk about what the heck happened to my hair. For time for us to talk about coping with feelings. And the feeling I want to talk about today is what to do when you get a feeling of shock, particularly a monetary shock. Because I think we all go through that in various ways in our lives. And I just wanted to tell you what happened to me this week and how I processed it so that I could cope with that shock. Um, Whether we like it or not, these sort of surprises are always going to um, have an effect on us, whether we like it or not. So that's what I wanted to talk about. And first of all, I see Angela's here. Hi, Angela. For those of you who don't know, Angela is a very dear viewer of ours. Goes way back, and one of the few viewers that I actually have had the pleasure to meet. And I say that with lots of love because, boy, if anybody, if anybody makes me laugh, it's Angela. And she has, I don't know why we had that connection, but she could just look at me and I would start to laugh until I cried, and sometimes it got worse. It was just like, everybody should have an Angela in their life. And not only that, she is a beautiful person inside and out, and who's struggled a great deal in her life with various things, but still has this incredible sense of humor. So, Angela, good to see you. And I actually have you as the first thing on my list today to wish you all the best with your interview. And I hope it all goes well and that you get the job. Hi there to Country Witch. Good to see you. Jody, always nice to see you. For those who don't know, Jody is our admin and looks after me extremely well, all during the week as well as during the broadcast. So, just in terms of birthdays, I know we had Jody and Lionel's anniversary on the 27th, but I'm not sure whether we had other birthdays. And if we did, and we've missed your birthday, please let me know, because that means you're not on our database. All right, so moving on to this week. I just wanted to recap on something I said last week. I was talking about olive oil. Do any of you remember that? And how the price of olive oil had escalated. I got a bit more information on that. I did a bit more research. And, in the last 3 years, the price of good olive oil has gone up 140%. Wow. And for those of you who weren't listening to the broadcast where we discussed it, the main reason for it is the weather. There have been severe droughts and so forth in Europe, and that has caused problems with the olive production. So, the trees, I don't know what happened. The trees dying, maybe. I don't know. I guess I need to do even more in terms of that. But, you imagine you've got a big olive farm and never had a problem with water, and suddenly we have global warming, and now you've got a problem with water. And if that is your only source of income, you understand how terrifying that must be. But then when I was looking, there was one other thing that I hadn't thought about. What if you are a restaurant, and I'm thinking Greek, Italian, any Mediterranean type restaurant, where one of the main ingredients to your food that you're preparing is olive oil. Can you imagine what it's doing there to their bottom line? So, give a bit of thought on both sides of that. It's not just ours. We can actually choose to maybe go for a lower grade, but, a restaurant that is a Mediterranean restaurant cannot afford to go to a lower grade olive oil. That's what their business is. All right, so quotes today are about making choices. Life is a matter of choices. I think we all know that. And every choice you make makes you. All right. And if you don't think that you make your own choices, then you need to smarten up a bit. Um, and because if you're an adult, then you do. You choose to say yes or no to absolutely everything that goes on in your life, and to cope with it. Now, I want to tell you that I did something quite normal this week. I had it on my list of things to do. I'd noticed that there was an oil leak going on in my car that I didn't like the look of very much, and so I took it for a service. And to my horror, I realized that I hadn't been for a service for some time, and I'm going to talk to you about that in a second. So I went for what was meant to be about $125 service. All right. And that would be about $92 because I'm in Canada. That would be about $92 American. Let's call it 95. But this service ended up costing me just under $1,000 Canadian, and about $715 American. And the question, how many of you are sucking breath just at the thought of that? You go in going, oh, I'm going to spend $100, and you end up spending 10 times that. So the thing was, it was all about choices. All right. And so what I'm going to do is go through it so that when you get a similar choice, all right, you can understand you still have control. Right. You don't think you do, but you do. All right. So first of all, let's talk a bit about my car. My car, bless its heart, touch wood. I have had since the late 90s. All right. And I call him Mickey because he's blue. And whatever year it was that Mickey Blue Eyes, the movie, came out, that was the year that I think it was 98. That was the year I got Mickey. And so, wow. Yeah. So just to give you some sort of idea, when I got it, it's the first non-import car I had ever bought. I'd always had a Fiat or a BMW or whatever in my life. I had an Alfa Romeo at one point. I had never had what I call a generic car. And this was a Jeep. It was just like, well, that's probably not going to last very long. But I needed it to pull my trailer. I had bought a trailer that year, and it had a blue stripe down the side. And after I bought the trailer, I went shopping for the thing to tow it. By the way, if ever you buy a trailer, that's the way to do it. Don't buy the tow vehicle first because it limits what you can buy. What you do is buy the trailer and then buy the car to pull the trailer, or in this case, the truck to pull the trailer. So I have this wonderful Jeep, and I have to say that when I bought it, of course, it was the right color. It was this deep blue that I'm wearing, and it matched the stripe down my trailer. How many of you can relate to that? It was like, okay, it was 3 years old at the time, I think, it had just come off lease. And by the way, that's a good way to buy a car if you need to. And so now I've already got 248,000 kilometers on it. Now, that's not a lot, quite honestly, considering how long I've had it. Think about that. That would be, by the way, about 154,000 miles on it. And everybody kept saying to me, why don't you get a new car? And I go, why would I? Mickey's doing just great. And so what I was surprised about is when I went for the oil change, I realized I hadn't been for another oil change for nearly 2 years. Now, that isn't because I'm a bad car owner. That means that it was due for an oil change at 249, I think. And, and I, in other words, I've done less than 5,000 kilometers in 2 years. That tells you a lot, doesn't it? So, it was not that I had been not looking after my car. It just wasn't due for a change. So what I did was I took it in and just hold on 1 second. And the first thing that happened was when I drove in, the guy that was about to service it looked at me in that sort of side eye thing, and he's got his ear coming down to my engine, and he looked at me and he went, "What's the noise?" And I said, "Forgive me, I'm deaf. What noise?" But right there, I thought, "Oh gosh, that does not sound good." When they're busy saying, "What's the noise?" There's something going on. So, by the way, when I bought the car, um, it looked great, and quite honestly, right now, it still looks great. And it's built like a tank, um, and I love it to bits. So when he said that my baby was making a noise, I was not a happy camper. So they one of the reasons that I bought it, other than the blue stripe that matched my trailer, was that it had all the bells and whistles. It was top of the line at the time. It had heated seats, leather seats. It had, you name it. It had a big towing package on it, just what I needed, so that I didn't strain the engine too much, and all those sort of things. Cirrus V8 engine, vroom, vroom, vroom. I love that. And so it was, at the time when I bought it, it was a very important purchase for me. So, so this $125 suddenly started to look like it might cost me a little bit more. Hi, Jeannie, good to see you. So that little noise that he asked me about, when we actually opened up the engine and he had a look inside, do any of you know what a serpentine belt is? Hang on, maybe I should draw that. Okay, it's the belt in your engine that looks like this. It sort of goes, actually, I think it goes up there around that way. Basically, it runs the whole show. That doesn't stand out very well. Sorry. Let me get a better pen. That one obviously has done its job. That one's a dead one too. Wow. That's not fun. Time for new pencil. This one should be good. Yeah. Okay, so here through your car. And another pulley down there. And what had happened, two things had happened. Hi, Sharon. All right, two things had happened. Number one, this serpentine belt had split in two. So if you were looking down on the belt, and this is the belt, it had sheared down the center. I got a picture of that to show you. But the other thing was that when they really investigated it, one of these pulleys, and that's like a rubber, almost like a rubber ball that goes round and round as the belt goes over it. So one of these pulleys had deteriorated to the extent that it was wobbling like this. Now, that's not a good thing. So not only did I have a severed main belt, serpentine belt, but also I had this problem with the pulley. So let me explain to you how that worked. I have the bill here. Okay, so the actual oil change was $120, call it $130. I'm talking Canadian dollars. The serpentine belt to replace that was $180. So I'm going, do I have a choice? The answer is, do I have a choice? I could have said no. But, I don't know about you, but driving down the road, knowing that my main belt that runs the car, I can show you what it looked like, looked like that. It's meant to be solid. And anyway, so when I knew that, it's a case of, it's got to be replaced, obviously. And then they showed me, they took it off. They showed me that pulley, it's like almost like a hockey puck, right? And you could see where it had been oscillating like this because it no longer was solid, all right? It was coming apart. What are you feeling as you hear this? Yeah, so Angela's saying, it would have broken and you would have had to have a tow, and that would have been a lot of money. Not much of a choice, Jeannie is saying. Yes, it's like, yes, I have a choice not to do it, and go home by Uber. But, the truth is, if I want to drive Mickey, then I need to get it done. True? So the cost of it is almost secondary, if you like. All right, so let me go back here. So it got worse, people. Because then remember, the reason I went in was that leak that was happening somewhere underneath. I knew I got 2 small leaks, but the one I was experiencing in my carport appeared to be quite a serious one. And so sure enough, they came back to me and they said, it's your transmission pan. So that's the bit underneath your transmission that holds the oil. And if that keeps leaking, you understand you're going to end up with no oil in your transmission and you're going to seize your transmission. So I said, and how much is that one? Please all take a deep breath. To change that pan and put a new pan on the bottom of it with new gasket and everything, $400 Canadian. So that would be about 300 odd, I would think, 350 maybe, American. So remember, I went in for this $125 oil change. So did I have to have that done? No, I could have carried on driving my car and prayed that the obvious wouldn't happen. But if that had happened, if I had continued to leak oil and hadn't kept very close sort of check on it, that would have been my whole transmission seizing up, and that would have been a huge bill. So did I have a choice? And as Jeannie said, not much of a choice, but I have one. All right. And I'm aware of that. And that's what I said. Yes, Jeannie's saying maybe 42 for the belt and the rest was labor, possibly. Yes, and Sharon's saying a lot less expensive than a new car. And then let me tell you what else I was processing in my head, because that's what I do, when I have to make decisions like that. I'm looking at the guy and I said, so what we're talking about is, about $1,000. And he said, no, it'll come in under that. And I said, what we're talking about is about $1,000 if I'm doing the math correctly in my head. Luckily, I can still do that. And he said, well, give or take, yeah. And I said, exactly. So then I smiled and I said, actually, that's not bad. And he said, it obviously wasn't the answer he was expecting. And I said, well, when you think about it, I haven't had an oil change in 2 years. And therefore, if I split that cost over 2 years, that's $500 a year. Not bad for a dirty great V8 that is that old and this good a condition. And he looked at me and he said, do you always think like that? I said, yep. Because I said the $1,000 is not something I had budgeted for. So I know this is going to cause me some grief on the other side. But the truth is it worth the investment in my car? Absolutely. So go ahead. How long will it take? He said about 2 hours. So I said, okay. So I got my phone and started playing video games. And I said, oh, by the way, that coffee you offered me as I came in that I refused, I'd like to say yes to it now. And they do make the worst coffee in the world, but never mind. It was something I had to have, once I realized I was going to be sitting around for 2 hours. Actually, it took them less than that to do it, but that was the idea. So can you understand that shocking news is only shocking until you got it processed in your mind? And that's one of the things, whenever I talk to you about emotional intelligence, it's about the quicker you process it, the less painful it is. Now, Jody, may I talk about your shock this week? Because, I think, what is my mileage, Jeannie? I said that at the get-go. I have done about 154,000 miles on it. Had it a long time. I've had it forever and a day. And it's worked hard. So what I wanted to do is just get Jody's permission on something, because she also had a monetary shock this week. And what I want to demonstrate, something happened. Jody's been filling in a lot of insurance forms, and somewhere along the line, there was a piece of paper, and they said that they weren't going to pay for something that they normally do. And then Jody queried it, and they said, no, you're quite right. We should pay for that. And so Jody relaxed. But when the check came, it was like $150 short, $175 short, I think. So you imagine when you're living from check to check the way that Jody is, that $175 is a lot of money. That's sort of, it is 175. I think I corrected myself on that one. So, it's like, that's a lot of money if you're living from one check to another. And you are on a minimum amount of money to start with, all right? So Jody, of course, immediately had a conniption, but she's got enough emotional intelligence to be able to process it pretty darn quickly, and then phone them up and go, hang on a second, guys. Now, remember, don't get angry with those people. They're just doing their job. Don't get angry with them, and just go, obviously there's been an error, because I spoke to so-and-so on this date, and if you're really good, then you've kept notes about the dates. I was told that this was going to be okay, and it isn't okay. That, I've just received $175 less. So I need to find out how to sort this out. So Jody, I want to give you credit, because I can imagine the shock you went through when you got that situation. But what I want to know is, how did you process it? Other than the fact that you didn't get just angry about it, you actually got proactive and did something about it, right? Because that's the only way that it works. But what I want to know is, what went through your mind after you got over the shock, or as you got out of the feelings and started dealing with the facts. And that's the one thing I always want to remind you, is if the feeling about having to pay $1,000 on my car was not pleasant. The fact is, I need to spend it. All right. So forget the feelings. The emotion isn't important at this point. The point is, make your decision. Do you want to save your car or not? Quite simple. And if the answer is yes, then just have them do it. Now, I don't mind telling you that this was a bigger problem for me, because I had decided to buy myself, hi Mooncat, I had decided to buy myself some new clothes for the spring. Now, if I had known, hi Emma, good to see you. If I had known I was going to have that hit at the end of the month, do you understand, I would not have bought new clothes. And I'll show you the new clothes in a second, or some of them anyway. So you understand, it is like, but it's too late. I've already spent the money. So what I want you to understand is, complaining about things doesn't fix them. The only thing that fixes them is action. And so you can say, I don't have a choice, or it's not fair, or whatever. You can do that for 5-6 years if you want to. I'm not going to stop you. But the truth is, it doesn't get better that way. The way it gets better is when you do things in the right direction. So Jody, when she realized that her check was short by $175, I'm pretty certain she did some pretty fast recalculating of her budget and her food budget. But she probably, in the back of her mind, was pretty sure that she would be able to get that $175 back, but it may not be for a couple of weeks. So she's got to think short term rather than long term. All right. So to me, it's like, understand that that's the process. The faster you can do the process and stop complaining about it and start doing something about it is where you get change. Now, I can complain about my weight as much as I like, but until this is going to carry on. All right. So obviously, I need to make changes. So do you get what I'm saying? That complaining about things does not fix them. Having a pity party, feeling sorry for yourself does not fix things. I've always said that, depression is when we live in the past. And anxiety is when we constantly living in the future. We're not living in the present. Jody is telling me it could take a few months to get corrected. And I made the choice not to make myself more ill by agonizing over the error. Yep. And that's exactly it, isn't it? You making yourself ill wasn't going to help you at all. What helps you is to know that they're going to correct it and to go, okay, what on earth do we do to sort this out? So Jody, I'm not sure how you're doing it, but the first thing I thought about was, okay, I'm going to start being more careful on my grocery budget and see if I can keep it down to, I normally spend about $150 a week. Great fun. And so now can I make it $100 a week for the next season? Because then I can make up the money a little bit. At least half of it anyway. And if I can keep my grocery budget down that much, now can I stop buying things on Amazon? Some things I will still need to buy, but let me do less impulse buying and more strategic buying. Makes sense? So this is about, I need to spend the $1,000. How I adjust my budget later is a whole different story. So one of the things I was telling you about was that I had bought some clothes. So I wanted to show you, how do you like my leggings? They're capri leggings. Aren't they cute? Like this? So, and this is just a cardigan I had anyway. So, but I thought for the summer, they are really nice. So question, how much would you be willing to pay for a pair of capri leggings? Okay. And think about that for a second. And then I would ask you, how much would you pay for two? Because not only did I have the blue ones, but I also got the black ones. Okay, so they're the black ones. But wait, there's more. How much do you think I should pay for having the blue ones? Or sludge green? Or dusty rose? Or pink? Or gray? How much would you pay for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Oh, the black ones I already owned. Now that I think about it. No, these are, I've got a second pair. All right, so that's it. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pairs of leggings. How much would you pay? And by the way, I was surprised at the quality of them, right? And they're sort of high-waisted, not low, and they were pretty good on size. I was quite surprised. I was expecting them to be way too small. So if I told you that I paid approximately $25 for all of them together, would you think that was a waste of money? See, that's the question. I made a choice to buy them because I thought that was a really good idea. So Jody is saying capri leggings are easily $25 per pair where she shops, right? No, they weren't $15 each. $25 for 7 of them. And I've already washed 2, and they didn't fall apart in the wash. I've already washed this one, and I think this one, all right? And they didn't fall apart in the wash either. So I thought that was an amazing deal. So 7 into 25, people. Do your math. So sometimes you got to say to yourself, what is it a convenient time to be buying? Well, it was until I got the bill. Until I got the bill for the car. But I'm still not beating up on myself. The other thing is they last me almost the whole summer. You know why? Because when it's cool, I can wear, one of my cardigans with them. And then when it gets really hot, I can strip down and yeah, $3.57 per pair. Hello. How can you do that? So then I look at it and I've got all the I can even wear these blue ones with yellow. What do you think? So that would be nice, wouldn't it? Look. So that also would be quite bright and shiny. But that's how I look at it, and I can wear that with that. I wouldn't wear the yellow with anything else. No, I wouldn't wear the yellow with anything else. Okay, so then I'm just looking. Oh, good idea not to drop your cardigans on the floor, sir. Hang on a second. So I'm looking at all the different choices I have now. So now I've also got a cream colored cardi. And that will basically go with anything. Agreed? Cream will go with anything. So I'm happy with that one. I've got a beautiful red cardi, which will go with the black. It will go with the gray. That works. You see how I work things. And then, of course, I've got my black cardi. I've got 2 different black cardigans. So, and black goes with almost anything, right? So Angela's asking me, did I get it on Amazon or Temu? Neither. I got it on something that came up while I was playing a game. Yeah. So what I will do, if you are interested, unfortunately, I forgot to check where I got it. But what I will do is I will find that link and I will, where would you like me to put it? On my Facebook page? Now, the thing is, they've also got long capris as well. These are stretch, obviously, because they're leggings, but they had long capris as well. And I'm thinking about spending the other $25 and getting the capris. But what surprised me was the quality, right? At that price, I thought, hey, and Jody, to your point, all right, I thought if I end up with 7 pairs for $25 and they last a couple of months, that's what it would cost me for 1 pair anyway. So, it was just like, it was a good deal. All right, so Jody, can you make a note that I will find the link of the name of the company and share it. It came up while I was playing a video game. And you know how they do? Now, the thing is, I am not beating up on myself for having spent that $25 because now that I've tried them, I'm going, they are perfect for me, all right? And they're perfect for somebody, of my age, they're sort of age appropriate. Yeah, that's the point, Sharon. Sharon's saying, I never trust those ads. No, I don't either. But, it was just like, hey, it's worth a try. You know me, I'm an adventurer. It's worth the try. And if they work, it would be phenomenal. And if they don't, hey, it's $25, but it was worth the try. That's how I looked at it. And so I bought them. But I've got to tell you, definitely worth the price. So sometimes making that choice, it doesn't work out at all, and and that's, we all know that. But sometimes you can be pleasantly surprised. So how many of you also, go, I never buy anything on those things because I never trust them? How long was the delivery? I would say the delivery was about a week to 10 days, if that. Again, much faster than I expected. So, and remember, this is $25 Canadian. Jody, could you just do the math on that for me? What is that, about $20 American? Yeah, I thought it was better than not bad. I thought it was miraculous myself. Yeah, and I think, to me, I'm thinking about, you could wear it with a long blouse. If it gets too warm for cardigans, then, it'd look nice with a long blouse. And I may invest in a couple of new long blouses. But basically, obviously I can wear it with t-shirts. I can wear t-shirts with all of them. But I thought I'd just share that with you. I thought that was just like, yay, good price. So now the other thing was, yes, Angela's saying she bought a 4-pack of squirts from Amazon and they were $42.99. But boy, are they comfortable. You see, that's the whole thing. You see, I think $10 a piece and they're comfortable is an absolute investment. All right. Angela, I'm still wearing the clothes that I bought to Vegas. I mean, to give you some idea, I am still wearing, those shorts and tops and things that I had down in Vegas. And how long ago was that? So I thought this year I'd buy myself some new things. I thought it was time. M saying capri leggings are great for shorter people like me. They make the leg look longer, very flattering. Yes, and even for somebody who is overweight, as I am, I think, the leggings with a long cardigan is fairly slimming. What do you think? And not if I turn sideways. Yeah. Angela's saying it's been too long. I'm ready for you to come back. I know. Angela, any idea? I did mention you at the top of the program. Any idea when you're going to hear about your job? And the reason I ask that is because, it's obviously something that's on all of our minds. We want you to get that job. By the way, Ange, I can't come down to you. I don't have a passport anymore. I made a decision not to renew my passport. Yeah, she's going to take it forward to the director, but you don't know how long it is until the next time they contact you, right? Did they say sort of you should hear within the week or? And it's so exciting. And I really, when you told me that it's going to that level, a week or two. All right. So, and if it is a week or two, how long would it be before you actually get employed? I know you would need to go to New York for training. They would pay you for that, right? Mm. Okay, so fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Yeah, the paid training. Good. So, you know, what I'm so amazed at, it was just a couple of weeks ago we were talking about it, and I was talking about the fact that it might be a time for you to get out of retail after all these years. And now it looks like you've made that transition. And you see, the thing is, with your sort of personality and your skill set and your drive, any company, those skills are all transferable. All right. And it isn't a case of they're only of value in retail. They're of value. I used to say to people, I can train anybody the skills. What I can't train is the attitude. Does that make sense? And your attitude to life and your attitude to your work ethic and everything else, people can't buy that. They can't. If you're up against another candidate, it's an unfair game, because you are so strong in those sort of things. And to me, it's like, you just got to talk to you for a few minutes to know where your heart is and where your mind is, and the things that you value. And so to me, it's not just a case of age. It's a case of you're an unfair, how can I say that? You're an unfair candidate in so many ways. And I'm just so happy that you started applying for jobs that weren't just retail. So well done. I know that must have been quite scary, actually. Going back to my money issue, Angela's saying to me, I still think about our conversation by the pool about the different personality styles. Yes, I'm glad you do. Because something, to understand the personality styles is, to my mind, the key to everything. If you understand the different personality styles, then you understand a lot of things. All right. You understand that no two people are the same. They can have exactly the same birthday, exactly the same upbringing, exactly the same whatever, but their personality style is likely to be different, which is why you'll find sometimes twins are absolutely the same for a little while until they start developing their personalities. And when they start developing their personalities, they are very different people. So look at it and go, Angela, I pray that all will be well for you. Now, a couple of things I wanted to tell you about my garden, because I found out I have a beautiful red maple tree outside my living room and dining room. It takes up basically the whole of my front yard, and I've trained it to be an umbrella, and it looks wonderful. But I've been noticing during the spring, I've been looking on the ground a lot, and it has seeded itself in a couple of places. So I've actually dug out those seedlings, and I'm starting to grow them now. I want to make little bonsai trees. You want to see one, don't you? Hold on. Hold on. I need to put something white behind it, otherwise you won't see it. Can you see it? Isn't it cute? I got two of them. And I think I saw a third one. Oh, there was an alarm sound. Yeah, how delicate. Yeah, isn't it cute? So what I want to do is to make little ones. And you will notice my indoor garden here is growing. This living lettuce, I'll get back to my outdoor garden in a second, but this living lettuce I bought on the 16th of May, and each day I just turn it a quarter, all right? And then I take, obviously, I'm due to take this section here, but it's still growing beautifully. And by the way, it is sucking up about 3/4 a cup of water a day. give you ideas. So what I did was I bought 2 more. Right now, obviously, that is a very sad-looking leaf, and so is this one. But this is a new one that just arrived. Okay, so I've got it in a wine glass, and also it is sucking up about half a glass of water a day. The main thing is I am realizing, to my sadness, I have got 1,001 lettuce seedlings growing on my deck. And I'm going, why did I do that? Because I can, all right? But now I'm going, I'm not going to do it again, because when you really need lettuce, I paid about $5 each for those. And this has already lasted me 2 weeks. And it's still growing. So you see, to me, this is about, am I saving money? Yes, I'm saving about $6 a week now by buying the right way. For those of you who have been watching my big cabbage, it's heavy. Still growing. And look at the roots on it. I mean, that's insane, isn't it? But it's still growing. And all I do is about once or twice a week, I take off a couple of those big leaves, and I use it for coleslaw and for my stir fry. So once a week I have coleslaw, and once a week I have a stir fry. I know it's impressive. And that's been growing there since May the 9th, all right? On May the 9th, it came in. That's a really heavy vase. Vase, all right? Came in just with a cut bottom. So I put it in here with the water just touching the cut. Okay, this is a cabbage. However, my first lettuce is already on the deck now, just recovering, because I took it down to about this size, all right, and then I put it out. And then, but the main thing is, it's still growing. How clever to put it in a transparent container. Yeah, and I change the water at least once or twice a week, completely change the water. Right, so it doesn't get nasty. And Jody, I know you were interested in the bok choy. I've got 1 bok choy out on the deck, and it's already growing bok choy leaves. But this one, I'm waiting to see how long it takes to grow a root. Still no roots, right? So this is already a week old. So I'm waiting to see how long it takes. I think it'll take about 2 to 3 weeks for it to start growing roots. But the strange thing is, it will still keep growing even though it hasn't got roots yet. It's still sucking up the water and doing that. So now, because I do use a lot of basil, I bought 2 new basil plants. The first one is over there. This one I bought in April, right? Yeah, April the 26th. So it was getting down to fairly small. Still got room. But I'm giving it time. Oh, starting to grow new ones. So exciting. I'm giving it time to do its thing. No, Emma's asking me about the cabbage. Hang on. Wait. Okay, this will do. All right, so imagine this was the big cabbage, all right? And it comes in with the bottom looking like that. All right? All I did was to put that cabbage in that vase or vase, because you're in in Ireland, and then put water so it just touched the bottom here, maybe about 1/4 inch up. All right, and just make sure the water stays there until the roots start growing. Right, so it's only for the first couple of weeks that you have to be really careful that it always has enough water but not too much. Right, because if you get too much, then these leaves will just go soggy. But if you have just touching that bottom root area, it will grow new roots. So it's been in that vase all the time. And each week I get so excited when I see how big those roots are. It's quite amazing. So, but that's not the story I wanted to tell you. The story I want to tell you is that I think I might have discussed this with you. That, oh, that's good. M saying that's exciting. I'm going to try. Yeah, I want to tell you. And it's just like, cabbage is good for us. All right. It's one of those things. And by the way, this is a Savoy cabbage. Okay. It's a Savoy cabbage. But the Savoy cabbage has, wait a minute. Anyway, its main stem. Yeah, I gotta lift it up. Yeah. Weight training. It has a very solid main stem. See this here? Wait a minute. Here. See this? Okay. Yeah, actually, you're right, Em. Why did I not think of that? Yeah, M saying staple Irish dinner: cabbage, spuds, potatoes, and hock of ham. Absolutely. So what I do, just so you know, I cut that main stem out and I chop it up and use it in stir fries and things. All right. So it's like that's the bit I use for stir fries. By the way, I think I should try it with broccoli. What do you think? I'll do that next week. I'll buy some broccoli and see if I can do the same thing. My question is, how long can I keep them growing? That's my question. What if it's, and by the way, you understand, as long as it's growing, I'm not wasting it. And as a single person, right, if I buy a big cabbage like that, I would be throwing most of it away because it would go off before I had a chance to eat it. But the way that I'm doing it, all right, if it just can keep growing, I'm not wasting money. And not only that, somebody comes to visit and I will be saying to them, do you eat cabbage? Yes. Oh, have a couple of leaves. I would like to say that's true. M saying, yes, an infinite supply of constantly growing vegetables. Why aren't we all doing this? Well, because you didn't know. And by the way, in terms of houseplants, this makes a lot more sense to me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm using my basil a lot more, and because it's growing. And by the way, I want to get back to my roses in a second. Jody, the basil that was in here last week, Jody, I put it in my AeroGarden because the roots started to grow and it's gone into the AeroGarden. This one has already, I cut this in May 24th, and can you see the roots already? That's from the basil. So now these I'm going to pot and give to my friends when they come to visit, because I've taught them all to enjoy caprese salad, right? And then I also have, that's the thing I had to learn. I didn't know this, but when you cut basil, don't take one leaf, all right? I can show you here. When you cut basil, take it down to where you can see this, right? Take it there. What I did is I took it down 2 so that I can grow roots on it. And this is some mint. I've got some mint outside, and I'm doing that as well. So, but Jody, I thought you'd like to know that first lot of basil is already getting thicker roots now. So exciting. Yeah. And I bought some sage from the grocery, and I put it in water to see if it would grow some roots. This is still growing, and I know that because I got fresh leaves coming up, but it hasn't grown roots yet. And that's from April the 26th, so that's definitely not in a hurry. This is rosemary. I have a bush that I bought because mine died, so I took some sprigs to see. I've now got rosemary flavored coffee, people. Again, it hasn't grown roots yet, but you know me, I don't quit. Now, you understand I don't need it to grow roots because I've got a plant that I bought anyway. But, it'd be nice if it did, because then I could give them away as gifts. Because, a lot of people I know like to have those things. Growing things, this is what Em's saying. Growing things is so rewarding and great for mental health. The first tiny sprig is wonderful, a happy hobby. I want to tell you this, it's like nurturing is in my blood, right? No doubt about it. And I have had so many failures, Em, but it's just like, let me try again. Jody, I was looking at my tomatoes, and I think they took about 2 months to start growing. And then they're really slow, right? I've only just put mine in the ground, and they're only this big. And I've got them under cloches, because they're so small. Otherwise, the bunny rabbits will have, deli meal with it. Yeah, you bought 2 established tomato plants. That's a good idea. I probably will do that if I happen to see them. I will get some. So, but the thing is this. I want to tell you from my experience. I grow my tomatoes from the ones that come into my house. I will just take one of these, cut it in half, and squidge it into the ground. And I just put it in a container like this. And by the way, this is my special container that I make. It's self-watering. Can you see that? So I don't have to worry every day about, oh, has it got enough water? Yep, it's self-watering. Yes, Jody, the whole thing is, it is so exciting when that, and remember, the first leaves to come up are not your real leaves. They are the leaves that it needed to get through the soil. The real leaves are the ones that come in behind that. And the other thing I wanted to tell you, Jody, as a first-time tomato person, okay, so you've got the 2 little leaves that come up right at the beginning, all right? Those are what I call the pretend leaves. They're not real leaves. They're the ones that help it get out of the ground. And then you get a sort of more variegated leaf that comes in behind it. Those are the real leaves, okay? Now, as this thing grows, I'm going to try and get that. Here we go. As this thing grows, you're going to notice it's starting to try and grow another one in this apex here, okay? Trim those out with your thumb nail, all right? Then it'll keep growing up. All right. And if you want it to bush out, keep cutting the top, and then it'll bush out. It's all very, very complicated. Em's saying, I think we overcomplicate things or have the perception it's too difficult. Tomorrow I'm buying a cabbage. and I'm shoving it in a vase and cutting a tomato in half and sticking it into the ground. You see, I want to ask you something, Em. How does it feel? How does it feel? Exciting? Because if you can feel that, that's called life. That's what it feels great. Yes. And by the way, are you prepared to fail this year? Yeah. Are you prepared to have them die and not have any results? But maybe you got some roots to show your friends. Look at this. See how smart I am. And by the way, think about it as well, Em. When they see the roots, and by the way, write the date on your vase. Otherwise, you'll forget. All right. If you notice, all my things have the date on them when I put them in. Can you see that down here? May 30, yesterday. Okay. And these were May 24. All right. And the reason is I want to see how long do they last. Yeah, you was wondering what the writing was, right? It's really important to me to know, hey, I spent $5 on this 2 months ago and it's still alive. That's what I want to be able to say. Back to the roses. So this winter, I don't know about in Ireland, but definitely here in British Columbia, we had, if you remember, it was so cold. It was so cold that it started to crack my faucets and things. And that's, I was lucky to get away with what I did. However, it also killed 3 of my roses, 3 or 4. And unfortunately, 2 of my really expensive ones, they were like nearly $100 each. But it was what it was, and so be it. So I sent Ciora off to go get me some replacements. Now, the reason I sent Ciora off, because if I'd gone myself, I would have bought more David Austin, and that's too expensive. So she came back with a plethora, whole stack of roses and stuff. Hold on one second. Just want to share them with you. All right, so now then, she bought, in this little area here, that's 3 more clematis. They're climbing things with really pretty flowers on them, okay? And then 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 5 different rose bushes. And she picked them for a reason. They all have high fragrance or whatever. And one of the roses has a lemon bouquet. So I said, I need that one to waft onto my deck. So we know where it is. So I already have 1 clematis that's growing. So she bought me 3 more because I've got uprights that hold my carport up. You probably can't see it, but that's one of them. And that's where I've got 1 clematis. But not only that, she's building me custom-made little containers for them out of cedar. So it's going to look so loved. I'm so excited about that. It really, it's like I want to tell you, I've always said the way out of depression is to do things, and gardening is a really good thing to do. All right, because it's ongoing, and it teaches you so much about some things work and some things don't, and that's just the way that it is. What did Jody say? Jody says, hang on a second. I missed what Jody said. So Jody was saying her tomatoes been 5 days, no sprouts. It could take 2 months, Jody. Next year, she's going to start them early as seedlings. And then Jeannie's saying, give, yeah, what did Jeannie say that she gave some away? Oh, her fisherman's pie. Remember she was making that fisherman's pie? Do you have that in Ireland, Because I remember fisherman's pie in England, but I've never seen it here in North America. But anyway, it was a success. She did not set it up well, so mashed potatoes on top did not stay on top. It came out more like a chowder. Tasty with salmon and scallops and peas. Yes, very nice. Of course, she gave some away. That's good. All right, so here is the thing. All right, so a friend, I was saying to somebody, maybe I was talking to you guys about this, but the price of a dozen roses today is like $100. Think how much lettuce you could buy for $100. So I don't buy people bouquets of flowers anymore. I buy something with roots on it that they can either put in the garden or at least keep going for a while. That's why I love my orchids, all right? Because they're not I always thought orchids were so expensive until I found out how long they last. So M's saying, yeah, she loves fisherman's pie. There you go. So there we have it. I've got some salmon in my freezer, so I might consider doing that myself. So let me get back to my notes here for you. So the roses, now what's happened is that's a whole lot of expense I wasn't expecting. Over and above the car, over and above the clothes. So this is a very, very expensive month for me. But I can choose whether to enjoy it all, just pay the price and then enjoy it, or beat up on myself. Do you understand that choice? Right? The deed is done, people. I've got the stuff. And if I want to continue replacing my summer wardrobe, I'm going to need to buy a couple more tops and bite the bullet and do that. All right. So M saying, I rent this place and I used to have the thoughts of why bother. So, the point is the reason to bother is because it's fun. And because it gets you out of the house and into the fresh air. That's how I look at it. It's a really good source. I go out into my garden for half an hour a day, a minimum, sometimes twice, 2 half-hours things a day, whenever I can. So now the interesting thing is that Siora is coming back today after the broadcast to actually plant all those. She's going to put them, will have finished the containers, the planter boxes, and she's bringing those, and then she's going to plant them all. So by tonight, I should have a whole lot more roses, and I'll take some pictures for you. But the thing you want to see is when they flower, right? How much joy do you think I'm going to get out of those roses? And that's the way I look at it. Roses have a pretty long bloom time. Now, not all of them will bloom this year necessarily, but I'm hoping that most will. And so to me, this is about, I buy things that bring me pleasure. All right. And I don't think that, I don't, play golf. I don't go out and, eat fancy meals or do whatever. But in the summer, my great joy is flowers and seedlings. All right, so M saying, I've never had success with roses. I don't think I cut them back enough. Right, so that's a new hobby. That's called a hobby, M. Time to start researching. And we have so much available to us online. It's like you don't have to pay a fortune to do a course anymore. You just go to YouTube. What is the right way to prune a rose? I don't prune them properly either, honey. But the truth is some of them still grow. So this is that's how we learn something. All right, we learn through our failures. Jody has been around a long time. Jody, Can you remember the first time I decided to grow something indoors? I think I started in my window garden there a couple of years ago, right? And I had a lot of failure. But look how far we've come in a couple of years. I now know um, that this is the way to do it, and they're growing hydroponically in water. You remember the experiments I was doing with hydroponics? Well, I didn't know why I was doing them, but now what I realize is it is way cheaper to actually just buy the plant that's already got roots on it and let it continue growing. So when I say way cheaper, it is just, better bang for your buck. So I'm very happy. Um, I definitely think that 7 pairs of leggings for $24 is just like, why wouldn't I do it? It'd be insane not to. Now, I saw another ad that had like 7 tops, and I may actually just spend the money and get those as well, because that would give me a mix and match for the next 5 years, right? Actually, I wonder if it is. Let me just find out here. Um, how good is your man? Angela, you still with us? If so, when did we do Vegas? Any idea how many years ago that was? All right, so Jeannie's saying, York used to buy me a rose bush every Mother's Day. Had we known the new owners didn't want them, we would have taken them with us. Instead, we left them and they disappeared. So sad. Yes, you know something? Never go back to your old house. I had beautiful gardens in my old house, and I want to tell you, if you could see it now, it would make you cry. And the funny thing was, they asked me to leave certain things. Like I was going to dig some things up, but I decided that I'd leave it for them as well. Little did I know they weren't gardeners, and so they destroyed years of hard work. But that's that's the price you pay. If you don't want that to happen, don't sell the house. Jody's saying, I remember, yes, when there was failure, instead of beating up down and getting discouraged, you were saying, great, now I'm one step closer to success because I know what not to do. Okay, so Angela says she knows it was in April that I went to Vegas, but she's going to try and work out the year. I'm certain it was at least 5 to 7 years ago. So it's time for me to get some new some new clothes is the point that I'm making, because I've lived with those clothes all the time. So it's been an interesting week for me, really, in terms of money. But it is what it is, and I've chosen to make those choices. And here's a nice quote. It says, may your choices reflect your hopes, not your fears. May your choices reflect your hopes, not your fears. Jody, one thing I realize is what you have taught me, both with the diabetic side or eating. I've managed to stay away from being diabetic thanks to you. But, not only that, but with intermittent fasting and everything else, I realize now, I've gone down from eating a steak that would be this size normally to having half a steak. But now I cook half a steak and only eat another half of it. And I keep the second half and use it on top of a salad or something. I mean, it is amazing. I am now eating fake cheese, fake meat, and learning how to make my own. I mean, it's a great hobby. In 2015. Really? Is it that long ago? Wow. So nearly 20 years. 10 years, I mean. 10 years. Nearly 10 years ago. Yeah, I thought it was 5 to 7, but nearly 10. So I think I'm due for some new clothes, right? Now, one thing I wanted to give you a heads up on. Have any of you eaten Waldorf salad? And the reason I say that is I haven't eaten a Waldorf salad in a long time. And I decided I'm trying to teach myself to eat a salad a day because it's good for you. All right. And so one of the ones I remember from my time in England was eating Waldorf salad. So here's what's in it. And you can look it up and get your own recipe, but, basically chuck the following things into it. You need some apples. It says tart apples, but, just some apples. Chop them up and just put them in water with some lemon in it so they don't go brown while you're chopping up the rest, right? Some lemon juice, that's so the apples don't go funny. Some celery. I'm pretty certain you've probably got that in your cupboard. Some grapes. Halve the grapes and put some grapes in. Toasted walnuts or pecans. Nuts are good for you people. It said to put in whipping cream. I didn't. I put in yogurt instead. It said whipping cream and mayo. I ignored that and just put in the yogurt and a little bit of salt and pepper. I also added some carrot tops, finely cut up, and some basil, just because I've got basil. And I want to tell you, it was so tasty. It was like, why don't I do this more often? Apples, very good fiber, very good for you, all right? And then cut out, I didn't need, Jeannie can't eat walnuts, okay? So leave out the walnuts. It's like me and garlic, all right? I have to look at recipes and go, it's a great recipe, I just need to leave out the garlic. And now I want to just get onto what I call my vent for the week. I bought something this week that needs a battery. I thought it would come with a battery, but it didn't. And it's one of those round batteries. And do you think it mentioned what battery I need to buy? Hang on a second. Angela just sent me something. Oh, Ange, that's so cute. I got to show people that. I remember that so well. That was the day. Right. Ange, may I show you a picture? I'm pretty sure she wants me to show it. Otherwise, she wouldn't have sent it to me. But I just want to make sure because... Okay, here we go, people. This is... Of course, the moment I went to show it. Here we are. Now, do those smiles look genuine to you, or do you think we put them on for the pic? We were on our way out. That's when we went out to see the show, right? I'm just looking at what we're wearing. I want to tell you something. With tears in my eyes, as I tell you, fond memories. Yes, really fond memories. I laughed so much on that trip. It was, I don't know what it was about Ange, but she just, every time I looked at her, I started to laugh. I mean, I try to have a serious conversation with her and I just start to laugh. Have any of you met somebody like that? And it's not the nasty laugh. It was just like, I just loved her so much. I couldn't stop giving her a hug or laughing with her. It was really weird. But we didn't. But we were, I want to tell you, very happy ladies. Andrew, no, I don't know about you. And actually, I do know about you because we talked offline. But it's like it's a bond that kept on. It's like I think for Anne, she knows she can trust me to give her the truth if she has a question, and I'm not sure that she ever had that in her life, where people would tell her the truth as opposed to what she wanted to hear. And also, I totally believe in her talent. All right. I spent my life employing people, the various times of my life, And it's just like, boy, somebody like Angela, as I said at the get-go, somebody like Angela with that mentality, you can train them the skill, but with that mentality, thank you very much indeed. So, you look at it and go, it's really important that we don't forget the real life stuff. And I say that because, we do so much now digitally. And I'm not knocking it. Don't get me wrong. I think, Jody, if I had never, ever met you, my life would be so much less than it is. Because you were such the ideal person for me to find to help me do what I was trying to do, and that you understood me, and you instinctively knew how to support me. And it's very much, I guess the same as I have with Angela, right? Which is some people you just click with. And I had absolutely no knowledge of who you were or what your background was, Jody. And that was the interesting thing for me. With Angela, I found, we sat by the pool, as you heard, and we had, everybody else was busy, doing all sorts of things and getting drunk and and she and I were having some pretty intense conversations. And it was like Angela found somebody with the knowledge that she wanted. And it was just like, she was going to suck that, she was like a sponge. And she kept apologizing, and I'm going, no, you carry on. Keep asking me the questions. Because to me, if that was the one thing I could give Angela on that trip, boy, was I happy to do it. And the price she paid was to keep me laughing in between, and she surely did that. So I am very, very grateful. And I think, Ange, part of the reason I haven't thrown those 10-year-old clothes away is every time I put them on, I remember the trip. And by the way, I was wearing a black and white striped T-shirt. That was one of the shirts I had with me on that trip. And that one I was wearing when I had the fire. And I still haven't thrown that away. I just keep it for doing grunge work, but I don't want to throw it away. I lived through a fire in that T-shirt. It's a good memory for me. Interesting stuff. So just to go back to the battery story, this is where friends are really useful. So I was having a little vent to Yvonne and saying, I can't believe this. I bought this thermometer thing and it needs a round battery and it doesn't tell me what number to buy. And there's so many different numbers. And Yvonne came back and said, you need a 1024 or a 2024. I don't know what it was, something like that anyway. And I said, what? And she said, yeah, most thermometer type things or clock type things take that. I'm going, yeah, friends are so useful, aren't they? Yeah, Angela's saying, Sal thought I was going to be quiet. I did. But she got the surprise of her life. Well, the thing is that I had met Angela online, and she had always been very friendly, but not necessarily. I didn't get the level of her humor just by talking to her online. When I say the level of her humor, there's so much more to Ange when you can watch her body language. Because she has, she should never play poker. I can tell you that, because she has a face that tells 1,001 stories. And things were happening when we were on that trip. If you remember, we were with other members of the DearMamaSal family at that time. And, it was so funny because something would happen and she'd just give me a look. I'd start laughing because she didn't need to tell me what she was thinking. I knew what she was thinking. Because I probably was thinking the same thing, but it was just like she'd give me the look, and it was just, of course, I will never forgive her for leaving me. And you heard the story. We were in Baker, which is like the hottest place in America, I think. Anyway, and it has a thermometer that's the biggest thermometer in America or in the world, and it was like in the middle of April. It was so hot. And it reminded me, if you ever saw the movie Deliverance, all right, that's what it reminded me of. It was like, it was a no traffic light type town, and the tumbleweed was coming across the road. If any of you got this picture, you expected the cowboys to cross the road any minute now on their horses, and the cattle to follow. But, it was just like, it had that look. And then we went into this, we went into this convenience store, and to use the washroom. And we all bought some snacks, but the others all paid for theirs first and left me the last in line. And then there was this lady behind the till, and there's no doubt in my mind that she did her bangs every morning by taking her bangs like this. Now, I can't do it because I've got very thick hair, but anyway, and I'm just, like, you could tell she just wound it up on a pencil, and then she just pulled the pencil out. I can't do it because my hair's too thick, but if you can imagine a very tight roll. And it was just like, are you serious? I mean, are you serious that you think that looks good? And so, Ange looked at me and I looked at Ange, and we're both crying because, we're trying not to laugh. And, that was fine. But anyway, so they paid, and even the people looked weird. Mind you, you probably had to be a bit weird to live there. Anyway, so I go to pay for my stuff. And when I leave the convenience store, because they all left ahead of me to get in the car, and when I get outside, they've gone. They left me in Baker. I mean, how kind was that? Oh boy, memories. Oh yeah. That's they thought that was funny. So did I. So one of very many memories of that trip, and they were good, bad, and ugly memories. Quite honestly, it was life, and yeah, you did come back for me. I'm very grateful for that. You probably should have left me there. Can you imagine the changes I could have made in that town before they killed me? Yeah, it was just like, really, really important times. And it's a memory I will hold for a lifetime, no doubt about it. Yeah. It was, you imagine going out and going, where are they? Yeah, they've gone. And you could imagine they were laughing themselves stupid thinking about leaving Sal in Baker. Because, if ever you want to see the total opposite of who I am, Baker was it. It was insane. I'm going, they left me. I almost had to go back to the washroom. I'm going, where would I be safe here? Yeah, insert the banjo music. And dueling banjos started to play. Oh gosh, it was funny, really. Yeah. It was actually started in Nevada. We actually were in Las Vegas, but we popped into California to go visit Erin. And and that's Erin lived. I want to tell you where Erin originally lived was also incredibly interesting. I got to say that because we were driving into the village where she lived, and we came to the first intersection, and there were like so many crosses there. I wasn't sure whether there'd been an accident or whether it was some sort of ritual going on or what it was, but I always remember that. And it was, really interesting. It's amazing when you get out of your own comfort zone but again, I am so glad we did that trip. I would never have seen Baker. I would never have been able to make you guys laugh with it. But I also would never have met Aaron. Or let's be honest, Ange and Leah and Ace from Denmark was also there. It was just like so amazing. Yeah, Charlotte saying, I thought similar thoughts about Mexico. So you might wonder, why have I allowed my passport to lapse? Basically, I allowed it to lapse because if you remember, I wasn't able to walk properly anymore or do anything. So I thought, what's the point? But now that I've got myself walking again, I'm beginning to double think it. But I really trying to think, how much do I really want to travel anymore? And I'm sort of pretty happy as I am at the moment. I'm certain there'll be things I will regret, not being able to fly down to Vegas and, and laugh for a weekend with Ange. But um, it is what it is. But I must say that whenever things happen to me, Ange's always there for me, and I will thank her for that. She keeps tabs on me, if you like, and make sure that I'm still okay. Right. So yeah, you all have to come here. But it was so sad. I want to tell you something really sad. I sent Manon a birthday present, and I couldn't understand why it hadn't arrived, and then it came back. So I've got, I'm trying to get hold of her to tell her that the reason she hasn't got it is because it came back to me. So anyway, such is life. I just want to say though that we started this about life is about choices. And I want you all to remember that regardless of what it is, remember Jody suddenly got $175 less in her check than she was expecting, and she spends every cent of that money every time she gets that check, and she spends it like to the nth penny. You know what I mean? And so for her to suddenly get less by $175 was horrific for her. But she so quickly recovered, and moved on to, okay, what do I have to do? How long is this going to take to get the money back? What do I need to do to get the money back? And so forth. She was on that so quickly. And I want to say, Jody, it's a testament to your emotional intelligence and how much you've grown. You are not the person I met 10 years ago, right? Who was dying. We're all dying, Jody. Yeah. And as I said to Jody at the time, what makes you think you're going to last less time than I am? How arrogant of you. Because we don't know, do we? We don't know how long we've got on this earth. And I want to tell you something. Meeting somebody like Angela in your life makes it worthwhile. All right? And meeting somebody like Jody in your life is worthwhile. I would like to suggest, Charlotte met Jeannie. All right? I love it when those sort of things happen, because you get to see the real person, not the one you imagine. So remember your choices. Some of them are good and some of them are bad. Remember your experiments. Some work, some don't. Doesn't mean they're not worth doing. Whether you rent your property or own it, it doesn't matter. Do things that are good for your soul. Not because you don't own it, it's because you need that for your soul. Go play in the dirt. If you're worried about, that you might move, and plant things in planters that you can take with you. All right. All my roses and everything else I have in planters. I actually own my house, but I'm on rented land. Wonder if that makes sense. So I own the house, but the land is rented. And so, bearing that in mind, I don't plant a whole lot of things actually in the garden itself. Right? I keep them in planters. And also I find that a lot better for conserving water. In the summer, you're watering a couple of planters uses far less water than having them in the garden. And I find now that I am planting things in my vegetable garden under cloches. And the reason why is because the cloche, when it gets hot, starts to produce water. All right. And then the condensation runs down and it's self-watering. Why didn't I think of that before? And it's just like, and it's got ventilation at the top, so the hot air can get out, but it's constantly watering itself. And I want to see whether I can keep things alive all through the summer without actually giving them a whole lot of water. That would be nice. And the other thing is I can now water the top and know that it's going right down to just the plant that I've planted. So when I go out, and by the way, I have little containers out that's catching the water, the rainwater, and I just watered from the rainwater that I've captured. I've also got a rain barrel that I use for that reason as well. So I would say that if you're spending money on essentials, then that's good. But are you doing anything to nurture your soul? And that's not a luxury. I think nurturing your soul is an essential part of your life. You want to feel the joy. It's like being creative. You need to feel that joy. You need to remember that not all things work well. You need to know that some things work and some things don't. Some plants will survive and some won't. But all the time you're learning. And there's something about learning that is so good for us. I hope you all stay lifelong learners. I know that you love to learn, otherwise you wouldn't be here to start with. But I hope you all remain lifetime learners. And, who knows what we're going to learn together. I'm sure it will continue to be quite a bit. For example, did you know you could buy 7 pairs of leggings for $25? Pretty amazing stuff. All right, so I will go and hunt down where I got them from, and then I'll put up the link for you, and so that you can check it out. And I think it's the same place where they have the tops, so I might just invest in the tops while I'm at it. This is Dear Mama Sal saying thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing my joy. Thank you for continuing to learn with me, and thank you for all the support you've given me over the years. And Angela, thank you for the memories I will never, ever erase because I don't want to. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, thank you so much. We'll see you on Sunday. Thanks, Jody, and thanks, Jeannie. We'll see you then. Bye-bye for now.